How we doing, guys? Today we are doing our cryptid states series. So we're hello, Filipina. So we are doing California for our cryptid states today. Some of the books I'm utilizing to help me with these stories, as well as living in the state of California, is Spooky California and Cryptozoology A to Z, as well as a lot of research. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Um, California has an incredibly large amount of cryptids, as we have a lot of different little like biomes, as to say. One of which is the LA area. We're going to get into some cryptids that are out in the LA area, as well as surrounding cities, and even all the way to the Redwood Forest. So the cryptid I'm going to start with is something called the Devil's Pet. Hey Jason, how are you? So the story of the Devil's Pet, I actually found it in the book I was just showing you guys, Spooky California. So far it's been a great read. So the story goes that the devil created this pit, fire, brimstone, the whole ordeal. And after that, it filled in with water, and his favorite pet decided to take up residency underneath the lake. So it was described as a large bat-winged creature with a very flat head, very long flat head, and a dragon-like body. Now this brings a few bells as far as things it could be, but it'll, at the end of the story, you guys will kind of understand where we're going with this, as it correlates very closely to another cryptid in another state. And the two stories are linked. So we're going to start at the top here. And natives that lived in the area said that it would come up out of the lake every few months and feed. So they would all go hide from this creature every time it rose up from the insides of this lake. Now, locals continued to avoid this thing over and over and over again. Finally, a man by the name of Don Pedro Carrillo decides that he is going to own this land, buy the land with the lake, and that's where he was going to be. Now, the lake in question is now known as Lake Elsinore. So that is in LA. He dismisses the stories, builds a ranch. He's there for quite some time. Nothing happens. A few months go by. And then a fire burns everything he has down to the ground. So he doesn't actually deal directly with the beast. Everything is paranormally burned to the ground. And during all of these times, all these sightings, they start to have weird noises, weird experiences around the ranch, the area, all of the people that inhabit the area or decide to be in that area. The Lake Elsinore ends up being known as La Laguna del Diablo, the Lake of Fire. So, we fast forward all the way to the mid 1850s, as nobody decided to buy the land for 20 years. Another man, rugged American guy, decides he's going to buy this area. He ends up fleeing as well. Again, they're hearing horrible screaming noises, unnatural noises, frightening, unexpected, all in the same area. Right, Jason? That is crazy. Next, a man by the name of Don Chico Vasquez decides he is going to own this area. So he is also the first man to fire a weapon at this beast. Supposedly the bullets ricochet off it after it decided to leave, is going after his livestock, and he decides he's going to fight the beast, the devil's pet. And he loses. All of his ranch hands decide that they're never going to be here. He rolls through people over and over and over again to a point where keeping people employed is so difficult that he actually ends up with a lot of losses and loses the area. So he sells that area off to the man that is supposed to be this big burly man named Miguel Leonis. Everyone describes him as very formidable. He's someone that's not to be messed with or trifled. He's there for quite some time. A few months pass. Nothing happens. Then one of his ranch hands comes and says, hey, something is attacking the livestock. This great big beast, winged beast, came and it's attacking the livestock. So he rides down to the lake, says nobody's going to screw with my shit. And he camps out at the lake with his rifle waiting for this thing. It rises up out of the lake. He's been there a few days waiting for it. And he fires off some shots into the air and just yelling and screaming, just charges straight at the beast. He apparently confuses it to the point where it has no clue what's happening, because up until this point, nothing has challenged it. So he comes running up to it. He starts beating on it with the back of his gun. So the back of his rifle, the rifle butt, he is just beating on this thing. Apparently he punches it in the face, hits it in the eye, and continues to beat it in the face with his bare hands and the butt of a gun. Apparently spooks the thing off. It goes back into the lake. He doesn't see it for 6 months. Now, all of this happening, just... it's very odd sounding, and I completely understand that. Somebody beat this cryptid to death, into submission, and it ran away with his bare hands. It's a long shot story, I get that. 6 months later, this thing rises up out of the water and decides to fly off, and it flies east according to one of his ranch hands. Now, 2 weeks later, one of his ranch hands, or some cowboys, see a creature, describe it exactly the same as this creature, shoot it down, capture it, kill it. It's then put into a Arizona newspaper article. Now, some of you may or may not know this story, but this is supposedly the sighting and the shooting of what they called the Thunderbird, which, to what most of you may know, is something of the Petrodon or Quetzalcoatl dinosaur persona. And I thought this was very interesting. These stories correlate so very well. So that's our first California cryptid. So, and there's many people that have said that they've seen photos of this. It was in a magazine, and it cannot be tracked down. No one has been able to track this picture, find the article, find the newspaper clippings. And these are all the stories that have been presented. Now, next, we are going all the way over to the Redwood Forest in California. And we're going to hit Bigfoot. So, in the Redwood Forest, we have stories of Bigfoot. There is 458 sightings of Bigfoot in California. The only state that beats us is Washington. 47 of those is in Humboldt County, and a third of those are actually in the Redwood Forest alone. Now, why the Redwood Forest? Well, Redwood Forest is very old, a lot of coverage, very large trees. So it's a great area to have people kind of just, away. So very easy area for him to kind of hide out. Now, Bigfoot is seen in 1967, and this is some of the most famous Bigfoot footage to date, known as the Patterson Gremlin film. Now, this is the film where we see him kind of just walking along, and they are filming him with this shaky camera as he kind of just walks along, and he kind of walks over, he looks over, just keeps going. Now, on a TV show called Monster Quest, they took this footage, lined it up, had a professional athlete, try to reconstruct the gait of this cryptid. And step by step, scene by scene, frame by frame, they tried to have him match the movements. And someone physically fit as a professional athlete was unable to replicate the gait of the beast. Furthermore, they took the footage, they ran it through some new programming, and this new programming cleaned it up a little bit more, not to the point where we could see enough to get things from, but they were able to map its face and realize that the face was actually moving. There was eyes that were blinking, there was mouth movement, facial muscle movement, to the point of which a mask could not replicate such movements. And this is some of the most amazing information seen in a Bigfoot case. And again, this is one of the best videos of Bigfoot in this case, and it came from the Redwood Forest. Now, moving on to our next cryptid for California, because as you know, there's quite a lot. Thank you, Jason. Yes, it is. There's a lot of crazy California cryptids, a lot of crazy information about California cryptids, and I'm feeling like in the next decade or two, we're getting to a point where science is going to start catching up, and we might actually start catching some of this stuff and helping these creatures move from cryptid to actual zoology. Now, the next cryptid we're going to hit is the Dark Watchers. The Dark Watchers seem to be completely California. They seem to be just something we have. Now, they're commonly seen around sunup or sundown. And they're always described as very, very tall, shadowy outlines with some kind of brimmed hat and staff in some accounts, which I thought was really interesting. They don't interact. They don't do anything but watch. And this is interesting because even people that have been brave enough to try to approach these beings will walk towards them and they disappear. Gone. Now, one of the most kind of like famous renditions or tellings of the Dark Watchers actually comes to us in 1938. And this is in John Steinbeck, his short stories, one particular called Flight, where he kind of retells a story where the Dark Watchers are part of it. Now, there's a phenomenon that is explained by science that supposedly explains the Dark Watchers as some kind of odd, shadowy occurrence that has something to do with the sun going up and going down, where our shadows are cast in an odd way that makes our shadows cast ahead of us when we don't believe it should. I don't know a whole lot about how that works, but the Dark Watchers are always described with glowing eyes, always. And I don't think there's anything they can really utilize to describe how the Dark Watchers end up with glowing eyes. As far as I know, my shadow does not have glowing eyes. At least I hope he doesn't. Now, going on to the next cryptid in our little series here, a real big one. One that everybody knows just by the image. So, and I'm going to put an image up here of something you guys probably know. So these are the Fresno night crawlers. Now, there's been a lot of speculation on the Fresno night crawlers. There's been people that have tried to recreate the Fresno Nightcrawler in footage, as it has only been seen in footage. Now, the first time it was seen was in, you guessed it, Fresno, California. It was also seen in Yosemite. So we've had the Nightcrawlers seen in Yosemite. There was a gentleman in Poland who also saw the Fresno Nightcrawlers. And his picture seen here is very, very different. But the same shape overall. You can kind of see it's a very long, spindly look, while the Fresno almost look billowy in the way their legs look. Now, he has footage of this thing walking across the screen. It's very interesting footage, and I took it, I lightened it up, tried to take a closer look at it, and there's nothing up here. This is just an empty space. So that I thought that was interesting. Definitely something to look further into. Now, there was also sightings in Billings, Montana. So, 4 different places, 4 different sightings, 4 different video footage. One of the weirdest things about this is they're called the Fresno Nightcrawler, but they're also called the Fresno Aliens. So, my personal opinion is that the gait of the Fresno Nightcrawler, if you ever watch some of the footage, it's very fluent. I think I saw that. Yeah, it was a big deal. When it came out, it hit the internet hard, Jason, hard. Everybody saw those videos, and there's 2 of them. So there's one, it walks out in the screen, you see it kind of walk over, and then you see a second one come out, and it continues to go start walking over. And it's just so fluid in its motions as it's walking. And it actually even made a star appearance on Fact or Faked, the second episode of that series. So they tried to find a way to disprove how this was naturally occurring, or even try to figure out how someone may have come up with a way to make this happen. And they had a really hard time with it. Now, obviously, there's people that have come up since that have tried to show how easy this is to do with AI. And we have to remember that this video is quite old. This is early 2000s. We didn't have the technology we have now. We didn't have the ability to make the videos that we have now. So next, we're going to jump into a cryptid. Yeah, no, it definitely is a crazy video. Our next cryptid, very, very odd. I'm not even sure what to make of this one, as it seems to be more oral folk tale from cowboys and miners in the area when it first kind of came into being as a state. But I thought it's kind of fun to mention. So we are going to talk a little bit about Cactus Cat. And honestly, mostly I wanted to do it because of this whatever you want to call this picture. Cactus Cat looks like he is chilling. He looks like a fat rat. I don't know what to make of this. This is... I can't with this. There's a lot of really odd pictures that people have come up with for the supposed Cactus Cat. Now, some of the... Yeah, exactly, Jason, exactly. Some of the weirdest things about Cactus Cat. People say it was a bobcat-like creature. This looks more like some kind of, I don't know, Mickey Mouse on drugs. It was supposed to have thorny fur, sharp bones protruding out of its front legs. Not sure how the Wolverine kind of aspect goes into this. and it had a branched tail. So you see that in the picture here. It's got this weird, like, curved, branched tail that looks like a piece of coral. Some of the most interesting facts about cactus cat. They said that if you ran into cactus cat, he was cool. You left it alone, it left you alone. It didn't attack people. What it did attack was cactus. And they said it was very violent in these attacks, apparently, with the cactus. And it would slice open the cactus and drink the liquids from the cactus, which they assumed were fermented. And basically, you would see drunk cactus cat fumbling around the desert. And this is their lifestyle. So, very, very odd cryptid. Very odd. Drunken cactus cat. That's, I mean, one of the more chill cryptids I think I've ever heard of. But this is an old one. Nobody sees cactus cat anymore. Nobody sees these creatures. So I'm assuming they all died off because they were all drunk. Or all of our cactus cat friends just didn't survive very long. Now, we have a lot of very odd one-off sighting cryptids here. And I'm going to go through those a little quicker. We have the dingmal. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. It's also called the pluncus. Also hope I'm saying that right. This is another giant cat creature. This one, let me double check, see if I have a picture of this one. Don't think I put a picture up of this particular creature. So, the dingmal, or plinkus, is a large cat that supposedly just slept on rocks. They described it as it looking sad, having thick hair, and having a spike ball for a tail. This, I feel like we're talking about a dinosaur mixed with a very large cat at this point. And this is another one of those folklore, no common, like, recent sightings in the last 100 years. Just something that was supposedly around. Now, we also have the Carbosaurus. This is some kind of large aquatic dinosaur type cryptid. It's seen in San Fernando Bay. Vertical coils, horse head, the same descriptors as Loch Ness, the Ogopogo, the Igopogo, and a cryptid, another one that we will actually be talking about today as well, as it seems there's quite a few Nessie-like cryptids in California, one of which is our Carbosaurus. Now, besides the horse head, the coils, also small front flippers, large webbed hind flippers, handfuls of sightings. Not one of the more notable cryptids for California. Now, there's also Elsie, Lake Eleanor. However, Lake Eleanor dried up. There was no Elsie. Somebody built a big Elsie statue thing. They take care of it, and it stays there. So, nice little, like we thought it was there. It wasn't. People had their heyday. No lake monster. Bad on you guys. And people made best of it. Now, one that has yet to be proven as being present or not is Lake Tahoe's Tessie. Now Lake Tahoe is obviously in between us and Nevada. So technically, I guess it's kind of a shared rights, divorced parents kind of deal. You know, sometimes we get Tessie, sometimes they get Tessie. First sighting was 1984. Was put in a newspaper as being 17 feet long. Sightings of Tessie go back into as many to the point of a local fisherman decided to buy a submarine and went looking for Tessie in Lake Tahoe in a submarine, small submarine. Not sure how credible this is, not sure how good this story is, as I don't see a fisherman kind of run around in his little yellow submarine. Credit to the people that understand where that reference is from. Hopefully Dr. Pepper will one day sponsor me. So, but that's kind of the gist for Tessie. Again, same descriptors. Long neck, horse head, flippers. It just kind of gives more credibility to this whole Loch Ness cryptid theory, as far as there being so many different sightings of the same creature in so many different areas. We're now going to go to one of my. We have one here called Chessie in Chesapeake Bay. Exactly, Jason. Exactly. So, while the people of the U.S. are not creative in our naming, we do at least see things. So, I mean, that should give kind of some kind of credibility, I'd say, to everyone, as we're not that creative to come up with things. So, as per our naming everything by adding a Y to a pre-existing name of the lake. So, that should make some of these sightings a little more credible, honestly, if you think about it. So the next one we're going to go to is called the Proctor Valley Creature. This one threw me. So I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to give you a brief description, and then we're going to look at, there's video. There's video of Chessie. Yes, there's actually video of a lot of them. There's also video of Tessie. I actually think I have a video or a picture here that I can show you guys. There we go. So this is a picture from Lake Tahoe of supposedly Tessie. Now I'm not sure, if this is some kind of creature. I mean, obviously this is very, very zoomed in, this photo, which would make this quite a few feet high up out of the water. What the breakdown is, I'm not sure, and I can't really tell you, because I don't know what the size comparison is compared to where we were in the photo originally, where it was taken from, how far away, all of those features, to make that equation proper. Nor do I possess most of the math skills to do it. So, back to the Proctor Valley Creature. This is supposed to be a vicious, cow-like creature. So we are talking about Proctor Valley Road in San Diego. They refer to it as the bovine Bigfoot. Now, I didn't think this was gonna go very far. And then I started reading more into it, and then I realized that they also have a weird hoof paw footprint for this creature. And it's just fascinating. So this is the paw-like footprint. So it's this long section here, bigger section here, and I don't know how to make it so you guys can see more of this picture, but you look it up. It's got this weird, almost like finger-like shape at the end of this weird, just almost like I feel like almost like a chicken foot with rounded toes is what the best way I think I can describe this to you guys. Now, supposedly it walks on its hind legs. It is over 7 feet tall, and people blamed a lot of mutilated livestock on this creature. A lot of people blamed this for mutilations. Um, Local, and this footprint is in their local museum. So if you go down to the local museum over in San Diego, you will find the Proctor Valley bovine Bigfoot footprint in their one of the exhibits. And like I said again, it's some kind of like hoof paw print thing. Um, and there's quite a few stories of people running into this thing. There's a story where they blame it for unaliving a young woman's boyfriend. As I guess they got out of the car, he went looking for something, car broke down, and she found him hanging up in a tree shortly after. And they blamed the bovine Bigfoot, our Proctor Valley creature. So again, good old Americans with our creative naming. Proctor Valley Road, bovine Bigfoot, cow-like creature. So, once again, we're really good at naming things. This next one, Himapon, hog bear. This one is ironic. They call it the hog bear. This came from our North American lumberjacks. Lumberjacks started to tell these stories of these small bear-like creatures. These small bear-like creatures supposedly loved pork. Really odd descriptor. Again, ironic, they call it the hog bear. It eats pork. Very ironic in a way. Not because it looked like a hog, because it apparently loved to eat them. So, it had some kind of sharp nose, heavy, wavy brown fur. Very interesting descriptor, honestly, for cryptid. I don't recall too many of them where they described the way the fur was, as far as it being wavy. And again, they loved pork. So apparently these things were seen hunting pork, hunting pigs, hunting boar, and would just tear chunks out of them trying to hunt them down. Again, this comes from our North American lumberjacks, and they're known for telling quite a few tall tales. And this is, in my opinion, probably not one of the first. The next creature we're going to go over is called the wind tosser. I hope that's the way it's said. Look it up. WHINTOOSER. Wind tosser. That's what I'm going with. This has got to be one of the weirdest cryptids I've ever seen in my life. I've got a few pictures of this one to put up on screen for you guys, as I wasn't sure what I was looking at. So, here's the one that it will let me put up on screen. Now, I'm sure as you guys can all see, there's a lot of legs. Like this thing's got a lot of limbs. He looks like some horrible. Like this thing's got a lot of limbs. He looks like some horrible mascot that's waiting to routine get a lot of high fives. I have no idea. I have no idea what else to say about this. Um, um, late 19th century California, supposedly seen around the beaches. Um, Oddly enough, seen in packs. Not a very large animal. Hunted in packs. Um, yeah, it's got this weird cylinder, triangular type of body. And the reasoning people were saying that it looked like this is even worse. Supposedly, this is the earthquake proof cryptid. Yes, earthquake proof. Because no matter what happened, it would always land on its feet. Now, the wind tosser only gets more interesting, as supposedly its tail, as you see here, this little spiky thing, and its head could revolve on 100 beats per minute. And this is how it attacked things. Apparently, it would rip things apart by spinning its head once getting a hold of them at 100 revolutions a minute. So, don't know what exactly this thing is. Have no theories whatsoever, but this is the creature that was described by early 19th century settlers into the area. Now, obviously, a lot of this came down to oral traditions. Had bristly fur, really hard to kill. Apparently, shooting this thing would just make it thrash about. Any kind of other injuries you gave it, it just made it thrash about. It was incredibly hard to kill. Supposedly, the only way to kill it was to shove it in a tube or some kind of log. And as it was trying to spin its way out, would tear itself apart. So, it's a hell of a way to do it. And even worse was this thing was supposed to be, like I said, it's not a very large creature. And apparently had a bit of Napoleon syndrome. Very violent, very small. So overall, very, very odd cryptid. And it would not allow me to put up any other pictures of this one, as I had quite a few for it, but it's not allowing me to put up the other ones that I had. As this had some very interesting ones. One of my favorite ones, honestly, was one it made it look like a lion and then just had all the limbs, and it actually shaped it as a triangle. So, for those of you in California, like myself, go get yourself a wind tosser. Always lands on his feet, earthquake proof. Now, we're going to go to the Riverside Monster. The Riverside Monster. We'll see if it allows me to pull up the picture for this one. Nope, not seeing that one either. So the Riverside Monster is this long, gangly looking thing. Honestly, the description, the picture done by an artist, all kind of point me towards almost like that skinwalker look. Or even the rake. So this might honestly be where the rake kind of started, as there we go. So this might be where the rake started. The other name for the Riverside Monster, because somebody obviously felt we weren't being creative enough, like myself, also called it the brain tickler. So, not sure why, because no accounts of this have it actually touching anybody. It tries, but I couldn't find any accounts that gave me a reason as to why they would call it the brain tickler. Now, November 8th, 1958. First sighting of this creature by a man named Charles Wetzel. And no, I do not know if he has anything to do with Wetzel's Pretzels. I tried. I looked it up. Have no clue. Couldn't figure it out. If somebody in the live or in the comments would like to look that up and get back to me, please do. I'm very curious as to whether or not this guy actually had anything to do with Wetzel's Pretzels. So, because I could not find that information at the time I had. Now, he said that this thing had really long arms, longer than anything he's ever seen before, and it jumped out in front of his car during a storm. So he was coming back, the river was overflowing, and he said that this thing jumped out of the brush, landed in front of his car, saw him in the car, and tried to reach him in the car with its really long arms. Scratched up the hood, scratched up the windshield. He said that it had a protuberant mouth, so the mouth protruded out. Said that it kind of had this like look to it of like being pushed back. Just very oddly like standing, legs on its sides, not like underneath it the way a human body looks. And guy's one of my heroes, because for once in a story where somebody's like, something jumped out in front of my car, he hit it with his car. Who would have thought, right? Scary thing out in front of your car. You know, first time I finally heard somebody's like, I'm going to use the big metal death trap that I'm driving to get rid of this thing. Perfect. About time. Drives his car all the way to the police station. Gets to the police station and scratches on his hood, scratches on the windshield, scratches on the oil pan underneath the car. Police say, oh, it's interesting. They leave it alone. Somebody else then says that they see the same thing. And they're like, okay, now we need to take this seriously. And they go looking for it. Obviously, they never find the Riverside Monster or the brain tickler. So they don't ever find this creature. But again, it just very interesting creature. They looked everywhere for it. There was actually a hunt for it. So it was enough evidence for them to take it seriously. And I think that says a lot. So, I mean, Riverside, California, at the time wasn't crazy populated, but it was enough to where there should have been a little bit more seriousness to the case for it to be taken that far. Now, one of our next ones we have is the Griffith Park Monsters. Yes, I said monsters. So, at some point, I think I'll probably do an entire podcast episode on Griffith Park, as it has everything. Hauntings, curses, cryptids. There's everything at Griffith Park. Table 26, or I believe it's table 29. The Hollywood sign is in Griffith Park. The ghosts, curses in Griffith Park, and of course our cryptids in Griffith Park. There's a story of a green-skinned, red-haired, bipedal, oddly shaped, deformed werewolf creature seen by 3 individual men. Another fun fact for you guys: it is illegal to be at Griffith Park at night. Yes, illegal. You are not to be on the grounds of Griffith Park at night. Obviously, this is completely shirked off by plenty of LA people. They go out and hike through there. They go walking. but you are not supposed to be in Griffith Park after dark. Now, this creature was only seen once by these three individual men, and that was the only sighting of it. There's also two other separate sightings of a creature referred to as the Ropin, or pterodactyl-like creatures. Both of these sightings seen by two different women, 2 different days, and both of them driving on the 5 freeway, which is our major freeway that goes along that area. Both of them were driving opposite directions during their sightings and said that they saw multiple creatures of the supposed Ropin, or pterodactyls. They said that they were a lot smaller, which makes me think that they were more of the almost like the smaller version of pterodactyl, which had a long kind of tail, which is more of what they kind of described in their sightings. The next one, I involved this one purely for the idealism of it. So if you were ever up in California and you want to go out to a nice area with snow-capped mountains, look into Idlewild. So Idlewild is a sleepy little town with snow-capped mountains and a skiing season. They also have the world's most friendliest cryptid, the Idlewild Beast, or Idly, because once again, we are very creative with our names. So, the Idly Beast is a man who runs around in a costume that looks like what locals call a drunken Chewbacca. So drunk Chewbacca runs around, has drinks at parties with people, and takes pictures. And the gentleman in question decided to come up with this cryptid to pump the town in sales and help them with a little bit more tourist foot traffic. I appreciate this guy's creativity. I think it's kind of funny that he decided to come up with this. I hope Bigfoot is not a local to the area, as I think that could get very confusing very fast. But apparently he loves to party, and everyone says don't give the idle beast any liquor. So, creative, fun, and just something I had to throw in the middle of all of this kind of serious inquests into creatures that we kind of are going through. Now, the next one is an actual Bigfoot creature called the Borrego Sandman. The Borrego Sandman is also known as the Abominable Sandman. 8 foot tall, white fur, Bigfoot creature with red eyes. There's a lot of sightings of this guy, to the point of where they tried to estimate his weight at 400 pounds. First sighting was in 1876 by a man named Turner Helm. He was a prospector in the area during the original kind of gold rush times. And, sorry, trying to read my notes here. He tried to talk to it in 5 different languages. Not sure if that's accurate. Don't know a lot of miners at that point in time that would speak 5 languages, as unfortunately Californians were fairly racist. So Americans in general, fairly racist. Don't know who would have thought they could speak 5 languages at that time. But supposedly he tried. It got violent. He shot off a few rounds, scared it away. Now, 2 men went hunting for this thing about a decade later, saying that there was a lot of unexplained murders that this thing had committed. And they were certain of this. So they went running after this beast. trying to find it. Of course, they did not find it. So, didn't work out all that well for them. Now, in 1939, a store owner said that he was attacked by a group of these creatures, and he described them as large white apes. And this is while he was camping in the area. Fast forward to 1964, a man by the name of Major Victor Stoyania found 14 by 9-inch tracks, footprints, in that same area. Same year, father and son run into some of these creatures, and they have rocks thrown at them. So, again, this interesting creature, but has all the characteristics of your normal Bigfoot. The next cryptid on this list is probably by far one of the most interesting. And for the first time, we not only gave it a very unique name, but we gave it a very human name. The next cryptid on the list is Penelope. Yes, the name of the cryptid is Penelope. Female, supposedly 7 foot tall, vicious humanoid with long arms and legs, long, dirty, light-colored hair. And some explain almost as a bestial, giant witch-like creature. The story goes that Penelope was a normal person who got lost in the woods and apparently crawled into a container of, or a drum of some kind of toxic sludge. Now, obviously, her superhero origin story didn't go so well. And the toxic sludge turned her into some bloodthirsty, human-eating creature. Supposedly she came out with claws, fangs, and many other dangerous little add-ons. Now, Penelope is blamed for a train derailing and all of the occupants going missing because she apparently ate them. Missing hikers, missing just hunters, anybody that entered that forest that went missing, they blamed Penelope. And yeah, this is an interesting story. I find it odd that a woman lost in the forest, 7 foot tall, like, it's just very, very odd. But this is the story for the area, and like I said, a lot of weird happenings in the forest are blamed on Penelope. Missing people blamed on Penelope. As far as sightings of Penelope, there hasn't been a whole lot in recent years. If she was human at some point, I'm assuming that she has a normal lifespan, unless the toxic sludge gave her the ability to live longer as well. So, but if I'm ever in that area, I will take a look around and see if I can't find our friend Penelope. So, and if I find our X-Men, I will let you know. So the last one I have to kind of wrap up the story time tonight is the ghost deer. Now, the ghost deer is up on Mount Eddy. Large white elk with 12 points on one antler and 10 points on the other, making it a 22-point buck. For those of you that know a little bit about hunting, each point on an antler is supposed to mean that it's bigger, meatier, and is kind of like a rating system. So hunters look at that as a big win. 22 points is a very high number for antler points. Everyone that sees it says it's somewhere from 240 to 250 pounds, and no one can shoot it. Everybody that's taken a shot at it says their bullets go right through it. This just kind of sounds like a ghost to me, honestly. And some people say it is a ghost, and some people say it's some kind of cryptid creature, as it's full white and apparently solid enough to where people think it's a real deer that or elk that they are shooting at. They've also found large hoof prints in the forest after seeing this thing. So whether or not it's a cryptid monster or it's an actual ghost deer out in the woods is still to be seen. So I'm going to shove up a few other pictures here for you, as I think I might have forgotten one at some point in time. I actually think I skipped over a creature here, and I'm not finding it. Well, I will tell you a little bit about it from what I know off the top of my head, as I seem to have not put them in my notes. But this one is the Lone Pine Mountain Devil. Sorry, so this will be our last one for the day. So the Lone Pine Mountain Devil. Now, Lone Pine Mountain Devil is said to be another one of those dinosaur creatures. Pardon me as I look through here. Yeah, so looks like a feathery raptor. So as you can kind of see here, again, yes, looks like a kind of a feathery raptor. Again, the sizing here didn't work out so great. You guys can only see part of it. They described it as a multi-winged animal. Now, the proper name that I'm going to now butcher for the dinosaur they think this is Sonornithosaurus. Sonornithosaurus. Yeah. It's a mouthful. Say that 5 times fast. There's no significant sightings of this after 1928. Again, this creature speculated to be the cause of a lot of missing people. Pardon me. Also, supposedly was venomous, as fossil records of this creature actually show ducts connected to the teeth, which are only seen in venomous creatures such as snakes and lizards. So this is our Lone Pine Mountain Devil. Supposedly it's the New Age Jersey Devil is what some people called it, but with no sightings after 1928, I would say this kind of predates our Jersey Devil friend. Now, if you guys have any cryptids for California that I did not cover, please shoot me a message. I tried to research as much as I possibly could and find as many as I could. This rounded out to about 18 creatures, not including our friend in the suit who decided it was a good idea to play Bigfoot. Now, if you guys have a state in mind that you'd like to see next for next week, hit me up, send me a message. I'm also looking for individuals that might want to be helping out with this and kind of jumping in, that might live in a particular state that can tell me a little bit more about their local cryptids. So again, thank you guys for jumping on, and we will see you again next week for our next tale.